What is going on, Jeromes? It's a beautiful Friday, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. As many of you pointed out, dump while you're taking a dump. He sees you when you're pooping. That's right. It's a beautiful day and pretty fired up. So, I feel like we are starting to get draft fatigue, including myself. I mean, I could do 17 mock drafts every single day, but you know, the whole thing about it is it's really exciting that the Vikings are finding their new talisman, and it's probably the first time in franchise history the Vikings will select a quarterback in the top 10, and we're all in. Whoever it's going to be. Is it going to be Jaden Daniels? Is it going to be Michael Penix Jr.? Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy Dynamite? Or is it going to be Drake Maye? That's right. So it's going to be Maye. Had himself a phenomenal pro day, of course. Was off target on a couple of his early throws, but the arm talent was there, and you see the upside. And yes, he does need to take care of the football. He was pressing things at times when he was surrounded by not so good talent, as well as a new offensive coordinator that certainly did not mesh and jive with what his strengths are. And with the Vikings, it's going to be a great spot for him. If and when he does land here, of course, the connection with Josh McCown from going back in the day certainly does make sense. And I feel like Drake Maye, it really is a tailor-made spot, and especially with Jefferson and Addison and Hockenson, you're playing indoors. There's not pressure to start right away either, since the Vikings have Sam Darnold. But I think that the Vikings, basically, it's going to take Washington passing on Maye at 2. I don't really see them trading out. And, we'll get to Brian Kelly here in a second. So it's like, Washington's on trade downs. But I think if Drake Maye gets to 3 and the Patriots, they see the upside with Maye, but they also see his flaws, and they understand that, hey, if we bring in a rookie gunslinging quarterback who is very high variance into this spot, it's not going to work out great. So let's just take the extra draft capital. It will probably cost the Vikings their 2025 first-round pick, but let's have a win-win in this spot. So I think that's potentially what's going to happen, and I mean, Drake Maye is special. He really is, and I think that the Vikings have this beautiful incubator where he can grow and show into a true talent. Really believe that. But if the Vikings go in different directions, so Michael Penix Jr., the pride of Washington, the Southpaw Sammy Bradford. Oh, also I saw comps Southpaw Stafford, which kind of makes sense too. Also, we've seen like slightly more athletic Phillip Rivers. Well, a lot of athletic questions were put to rest. So a lot of people have criticized Michael Penix Jr. because he wasn't really a scrambler at UW. Now, at Indiana, he definitely had wheels, except people forget that because it was 5 freaking years ago. But, I mean, he proved the haters and the losers wrong, where he ran. So, timing for the 40 is random. So, some as low as 4.46, some 4.5, some 4.6. Either way, he does have wheels. He is able to move. 36.5-inch vert, 10-foot, 5-inch broad jump, which would have been the best of all the quarterbacks at the combine. I mean, Penix is a great athlete, and also I think, outside of Joe Milton III's just random like circus 90-yard bombs, I do think that Michael Penix Jr. does have the best arm talent of any quarterback in this class, and that includes Drake Maye. That includes Caleb Williams. So the main concern with Penix, of course, is the health. But we'll dive into that today. We're going to do up a video recapping his pro day. But Jordan Schultz, Bleacher Report, doing up some good work. An NFL coach just texted about Michael Penix Jr. Freak show. A dude runs 4.5 and then jumps 37 inches. Arm strength is crazy in person. Locked in first rounder. So that certainly is interesting. And I still think that Penix, given his medical concerns, even though he hasn't had a serious medical issue since 2021. Also, by the way, the fact that Penix ran that 4.46 or whatever, as well as the 37-inch vert and broad jumping, 10.5 feet, doing that on two rickety ACLs. It seems pretty good. It seems pretty good. But I still think that Penix is quarterback 5 off the board. But where does he go? I feel now we've gone through like, hey, maybe the Vikings go a different direction at 11, and then they just take Penix at 23. But I think they might have to take Penix at 11. Because you look at the gauntlet. So say that quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4. Say, not 1, 2, 3, 4, but Bears, Commies, Patriots take quarterback. And maybe the Giants move up. Maybe the Broncos move up, whoever. But say the Giants take McCarthy. So there's 4 quarterbacks in the top 6 picks. And then the Vikings are there at 11. Now, Ideally, you would like to wait and take Penix at 23, where, yes, rookie wage skill, but you pay him a little bit less money. Also, fifth-year option. Also, you can address a different need at 11. But look who could be in on Penix in between 11 and 23. So the Broncos, obviously. Raiders, yes. Saints, maybe even. They're not enamored with Derek Carr's futures. Even though the Seahawks traded for Sam Howell, like maybe they see Penix and, of course, him being last 2 years in Seattle, like obviously would be a regional pick, which would make sense. The Jaguars, nah. But the Rams at 19 could be sneaky, and then you'd have right-handed Stafford and left-handed Stafford. It would be kind of fun. The Dolphins, like maybe they don't want to pay to the $55 million a year what it's going to take, and then they just want to go with Penix in that spot. Who knows? The Eagles at 22, but. Yeah, it would be nice to just let Penix slide to 23, but it might not be in the cards. Yeah, and if they want this to happen, oh man, not gonna lie, I love all of these edits because again, it gives you hope for the future. Plus, we need to bring 9 back as a quarterback number. Now, respect to Tristan Jackson, but 9 with McCarthy, 9 with Penix, Tommy Kramer from back in the day. Let's go. Let's go, man. Also, speaking of let's go, so Grah Barton of Duke had himself a great pro day as well. 6'5", 311, 4'8", 8'4", great in the short shuttle, great in the 3-cone as well. And he's a guy where, so I have a couple of interior offensive line crushes this year. Obviously, Jackson Powers-Johnson from Oregon, as well as Zach Frazier from West Virginia, Drake Nugent from Michigan. I like a lot as well. Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin, yes, but Grah Barton, I don't know what it is, but just watching his tape, like he's high IQ, he's got a great strength, he's got a great movement skills, he's got great tenacity as well, stays after blocks and just really gets after it, and also just leadership on the field. And I'm gonna say right now, 15 years from now, well, actually, no, I guess it'd be like 17 years from now, when Grah Barton's 12-year NFL career is wrapped up, or maybe longer, I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that he will be a Hall of Fame center. So, last 3 seasons, played left tackle at Duke, did play center as a true freshman in 2020, but I think that he's going to kick inside. I think he'll be a perfectly fine guard. I think that he would be an elite center. Just his movement skills, playing with leverage, toughness, I think everything. So, probably going to be a first-round pick, but, of course, going back to it, it's like, hey, maybe you take Penix at 11. Do you take Barton at 23 or JPJ or Frazier or whoever? But then, of course, there's like, oh, he's ignoring the defensive line. So it's tough. That's what's tough right now. But I do love me some Grah Barton. Absolutely. Also, absolutely. I mean, Brian Kelly, I feel like, is just a meme at this point, man. But he's talking about Jaden Daniels and everything that he can do and everything that Mahomes does and Josh Allen and blah, 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 blah. And with Jaden Daniels, he said Jaden Daniels, is going to get the ball out to his playmakers to make plays. And then at the end, he just added for Washington. Now, presumably, the Bears are taking Caleb Williams at 1. Washington has 2. And, of course, Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's just a meme. It's funny, man. But it could be a spot, too, just playing telephone here, where the Bears are in a Caleb Williams 1. Washington knows that. And Washington has their picks of quarterbacks, whether it's Daniels, Maye, Penix, McCarthy, whatever. And maybe they've told not JJ, but Jaden Daniels people and agents and support staff is like, hey, we're going to take you at 2. We're going to take you at 2. Then all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels and his agent are fired up, and then they tell Brian Kelly, and then Brian Kelly tells the world. I could honestly see that happening. Or Brian Kelly is just sort of hyping up his guy because, I mean, he's a realist. Like, he knows that Caleb Williams is going to go 1, but he's like, Washington, I better take my guy, so it looks really good for recruiting, and blah, blah, blah. Man, anyways. So Dalton Ryner, this is from Vikes fan page. Apparently, he changed agents as of late. So Dalton Ryner recently fired his agent and hired Drew Rosenhaus, the infamous Drew Rosenhaus, who is widely regarded as one of the best agents in professional sports. Respect, yes, he is. Rosenhaus has many clients in Minnesota, including Aaron Jones, Grenard, Powell, all signed deals with the Vikings this offseason. Also, reportedly, Darrisaw, I think, switched to Rosenhaus. Generally, players looking for money, they go to Rosenhaus. That's how it works, man. But it's weird, isn't it, that Reisner this offseason, Reisner last offseason, like, can't get decent money. I mean, we're not even talking about Robert Hunt, $20 million a year, but I don't know, $5 million per. It's weird because last year he had to settle for a 1 year, $3 million deal. He may have to do the same again. Now, there is speculation and reports and rumors that Miami has a offensive lineman in mind, but they're going to wait until after the draft to sign him. Now, I think that there is going to be basically a ceasefire in terms of signing big time free agents. Well, number one, there's not any big time free agents left on the market per se, but also if they're on expiring contracts and if they're signed for less than like $4 million roughly, they won't enter into the compensatory pick formula. But just to make sure, a week after the draft is when the compensatory pick window closes. So even guys that would have counted into the formula, you can sign them and no muss, no fuss. So that could be what Miami's doing with Dalton Ryner. Also, maybe teams are potentially looking to see what they can add in the draft before circling back on Ryner. Is Minnesota one of them? Maybe, even though reportedly the Vikings haven't offered Ryner a contract. Maybe they're just sitting tight. And obviously, Blake Brandel getting signed to that 3-year deal for, it's not backup money. I don't know. But yeah, Ryner changing agents. And again, it's just weird. Just weird that he's completely just frozen out for 2 years in a row. Something that isn't weird is the development of quarterbacks. So our guy Ari Mariov over at My Sports Update, 33rd Team, did up a piece. So he talked to NFL execs, and so teams giving up on quarterbacks early, whether it's Justin Fields, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's whoever. There is at a certain point too, yes, you got to give the guy enough time to develop, and also you have to surround him with enough talent to see what he's got. But also, when he's not the guy, he's not the guy, which I kind of understand. But also, it does go back to the old thing, because, I mean, back in the day, like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, like, you draft a quarterback, he sat. Like, even if you drafted him high, he sat for at least a year, because it is a transition to the NFL, getting NFL caliber coaching and playing a longer schedule, being a pro's pro, all that stuff. And if you're trying to do that on the field, and also, by the way, if you draft your quarterback high, generally your team is very poopy, especially along the offensive line, your rookie quarterback can get beat the hell, and maybe his confidence is gone. Yeah. But they dive in here. So they talked about the Packers for a little bit, but we're going to ignore that part. So this is from Ari's article. Should rookie quarterbacks sit for a while? The Chiefs sat Patrick Mahomes for a year after they traded up to 10 to go get him in 2017. The Packers sat Jordan Love for 3 years. Should teams go back to sitting their quarterbacks to start the season, or even for a full year instead of throwing them in right away? An NFC executive, quote, "Each kid is different. Peyton Manning threw the most interceptions ever by a rookie." So NFC executive, each kid. I think you can rule out Kwesi, because I don't think Kwesi would use the word kid. I don't know. And everyone knew he'd be fine. Joe Burrow tore his knee up, and everyone knew he'd be fine. He's so confident and has so much swagger that you knew that he'd be good. And, of course, he made the Super Bowl the next year. Those guys are wired differently. They aren't getting ruined by a bad season. But for a guy like Jordan Love and some of these other quarterbacks, of course, it makes sense. There are confidence issues. You throw them in, and if they fail, you could ruin them. And I mean, that's what happened with Zach Wilson. To a degree, that's what happened with Sam Darnold. That's what happened with David Carr. And I think that there is a point where the Vikings are set up very nicely, where even if they do draft a quarterback high, like say they do take Drake Maye, even if they trade on up, if he's not ready, like, they don't have to throw him out. And I think Drake Maye, especially with his mechanics as well as taking care of the football, I think that he would benefit from sitting for a year. And there's a reason why I feel like if Mahomes is just tossed out there with the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs were a good team, they were 12-4 the season before they traded up to go get him, would the results have been the same? Probably. But also, if you throw out a rookie quarterback like the aforementioned David Carr on the expansion Texans, or Tim Couch on the expansion Browns from back in the day, and there isn't talent around him, he's going to get battered, he's going to get hit, he's going to start seeing ghosts, he's going to start throwing picks, he's going to do everything, and it's hard to come back from that. It really is. But, I mean, the Vikings, they have the best of both worlds, because frankly, they could sit him and he'll be fine. I think Darnold has a chance to succeed here. And also, they could play him, and the Vikings have a lot of talent on offense, just like the Houston Texans, and could rookie TBD pull a CJ Stroud? Yes, I certainly think so. Wrapping things up. So we were going to get into the saga of like Glenn Taylor not selling the team, but whatever. But let's just cherish the good times. And Anthony Edwards wants to stay here in Minnesota, signed up that max contract, and also the posterize. Or it's been a while since I've had an NBA poster. Like I had so many as a kid, like the famous KG and Randy Moss poster. So I gotta get some more. Like this is glorious. I love that, man. But that's it. That's Friday news dump. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.